Hello, my fabulous friends. It is Jess here from the Scrappy Sisters, and welcome to January 2022. So the first project I'm sharing with you today is a little stitching project that I have created. So I pierced all the holes by hand using my big, thick gauge needle and a piece of foam and this beautiful paper. And this is going to be my cover album for the front page, the first page in my 2022 album. I haven't done a front page for a couple of years and I miss it. I normally do one. So this year I decided I would get back into it. Now, depending on the lighting, the letters or the numbers 2022 in the vellum or sketch paper, tracing paper is a little bit hard to see. But in real life, it is still definitely difficult to see, but it's not as bad as it looks in the photos or in the video. It's a little bit clearer. And I really like the way it turned out. So I'm happy with that. The one thing I probably would do differently if I was doing this again is I think I'd add a photo. I don't have any photos on this one this year. And normally I put a photo of each of us or one of the whole four of us just to represent that it's our family album. And I didn't actually do that this year. So I think that would be my other takeaway that I would do again for next time. But what I've done is each of the little squares obviously has a very clear colour palette, and I have done a tone-on-tone embellishing within that colour palette. And I was really happy with the way this turned out and how it all pulled together. I think it looks super, super cute. And it was just a really beautiful page to add to the very front cover of my 2022 album. As you can see, I went ahead and did running stitch around or along each of the starbursts in a complementary colour, a colour that matches in with the darker shade of the two colours that happen within the starburst. I then hand cut out my 2022. The way I did that so they were all the same is I actually folded a piece of vellum. It was an A4 piece of tracing paper. I folded it into quarters. I then traced on the first page, like the first cover of it, a 2 in the shape that I wanted. I then cut 1/4 away and left all of the other 3/4 and folded those back up together and cut the whole thing at once. So all 3 of my 2s are exactly the same shape and all of that, so that they're a perfect match. And then to do the 0, which I know you can't really see yet, it's over in the top right-hand corner, I actually traced the top part of the 2, the circular part of the 2, I traced it the one way and then I turned it upside down and traced it the other way, because then I knew it would be the perfect match for all the numbers in this series. So that is how I did those, just to make them all universal. I do obviously have a cutting machine, but I was worried that it's not vellum, that's my problem. I was worried that tracing paper would be far too thin and flimsy to go through the machine without just tearing. So I just did it by hand. I'm really happy with the way they came out. It is the one thing that is my biggest issue with this layout is the age-old problem of how to adhere tracing paper or vellum to a page. And of course, nothing I did really worked. You can definitely see the wrinkles where the glue is. Probably should have used glue dots. They seem to be the very best alternative for adhering something, because glue just doesn't work. Another technique that I have seen that I haven't really tried but I've seen is quite good is when you get glue, water it down a little bit, wet glue, and water it down a little bit more like a PVA and a sponge, and you actually put glue across the whole entire piece of vellum. My problem with that is because this is tracing paper and not vellum, and it is just so much thinner than vellum, it would warp and wrinkle a little bit too much, I think, being that wet. So that's why glue dots probably would have been my better choice with this medium, or with this piece of paper for sure, because glue dots aren't wet. So they won't make too much of a wrinkle. You definitely see the circle mark where the glue is, but you shouldn't have that warping and wrinkling. Whereas what I did was use wet glue, and of course it's got a warping and a wrinkling. So not a great choice, unfortunately, but it's on, it's down. We will learn to live with it and life goes on. So as you can see, I've skipped to my green 2 at the moment, and I am playing around with matching colours with that one and trying to make up those little clusters as best as I can. Obviously I'm pulling from everywhere. So I've got the sticker sheet out, I've got the embellishments out, I've got the gorgeous little round circles from Pinkfresh Studio, and I'm just pulling all the different colours that work really well for this and just add to the little clusters, try and build up a little bit of the clusters. And I'm an absolute sucker for adding layers. So I've definitely got some things that are stuck straight down onto the paper, some that are stuck up on foam, stickers overlapping things, just add as much dimension and interest to the page as possible. All right, now I'm up to 0. I was trying to figure out which was the right side and the wrong side. And in the end, obviously it doesn't matter with a 0. So I was looking at which one had the least amount of grey lead mark on it, because I couldn't erase the grey lead because I couldn't find an eraser. First world problems. Now I'm going to pile up these. Now the good thing about this particular layout is it gave me the chance to use some embellishments that I wasn't really sure I'd use otherwise. So like the light bulb scenery and this little half oval scenery here as well. They're just not really pieces of ephemera that I feel like I would get onto a layout normally. So I decided to pop those on this one. A, they colour matched, and B, it just seemed to me like a sensible way to get those pieces of ephemera on a page. Obviously some of the other ones I would definitely use, but those two in particular just were a little bit more abnormal for my layouts. So I decided I'd just pop them on. And just having a real play. You can see that each little square I'm kind of taking as its own individual little layout, I guess. Just a 4x4 size piece of layout. 4x4, 8x8, 6x6. 6x6. Little mini layout, and it all just kind of lives within itself. And then those obviously all together as a whole complement each other as well. So 2 little clusters in each one. I know that uneven is generally the way to go when you're making clusters and designing looks and things like that, but obviously a 6x6 square really doesn't give you enough space to do too much of that. So just fitting in and doing what I can. I do find when I pop stickers up on foam that I don't use enough foam behind them sometimes, and they stick back like areas of it push down onto the original piece of paper instead of being up on foam. So just was catching that with that little saying there, which is a really cute saying. And now I'm up to my last one, so I'm almost finished this layout. Thank you if you have stuck around for the duration. It is a bit of a long one today. I think I was working a little bit slowly, so even when I put the speed up, it's still quite a long time. This is another case of using an embellishment that I probably wouldn't normally use, but just wanted to get onto a page. That bird is not really my style in normal cases. It's a cute bird, but normally when I'm creating a layout, it just wouldn't really match or go with anything. So I thought it was the perfect opportunity to get that onto a page. I really love those circular stickers in the Pinkfresh this month because they're not chipboard, they're not ephemera, they're not just sticker, they're a little bit thicker. They're kind of a bit unusual, but not in a bad way. I love that it's just another different dimension and another different layer that we can add to our clusters that just gives it that little bit of a difference, which I think is really cool. Almost done here, just adding a tiny bit more to this bottom cluster. Then of course we'll come in with some splatters because you know I can't miss out on splatters. And then I will have some close-ups and you'll get a much better view of the stitching that I created, and you'll also get to see each of the 4 little layouts or little areas in and of themselves and just get a better view of what this whole thing looks like all together. I'm really happy with how it came out, and I think it's going to be a really beautiful start to my 2022 album. Now to finish all the layouts for 2021. So here we are here. This is the completely finished layout. And then, of course, this is my first little number 2. And you can see how cute that stitching looks in and behind there. The 0. I just really love the way the tone-on-tone colours look in this layout. The 2 and then the final blue 2, I just think it comes together really, really well. Thank you so much for watching. I am so happy to be back in January of 2022 and I cannot wait to see you with some more layouts this month. Bye everyone.